Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
8:07 now on O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you missed our first 3 hours, that's right. We do 4 hours. We do 4 hours every morning, darn it. And if you missed any of it, please subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss a thing. The great thing about subscribing either at Apple or Spotify is that you'll automatically get those podcast episodes at your fingertips. We don't expect you to listen to all 4 hours, but you can play catch up and check out some of our great interviews, like the one we're about to have. Cassie, Smedlie, are you ready? Have you buckled up? Are you ready to talk about how Virginia's going down the drain?
Ugh. You got me all hyped up with the intro music, and now we got to talk about the reality of what's happening in our state.
Well, we do have to talk about it because you, like many other people, have fled to Virginia from places like Maryland and D.C. because there was some modicum of sanity, especially when it comes to gun rights, gun ownership, and respecting the Second Amendment. But here they go. You give Democrats this kind of power, and they dive right in at undermining that constitutional right. Joining us to discuss is John Commerford from NRA, Executive Director at NRA-ILA. Help me out here. What's the ILA part?
Good morning. Institute for Legislative Action.
Love it. All right. Well, we need to stop some legislative action in Richmond. What are they trying to do down there?
Well, simply put, they're taking the petri dish of bad ideas from all of the glaring blue states nationwide and trying to make it worse. Anything they can do to change life in the Commonwealth, they're full steam ahead to do it. So that involves gun bans, magazine bans, not even grandfathering in items you already own, permits to exercise your constitutional right after you've paid a fee and training, attacking the firearms industry, and more. It's a cornucopia of bad ideas happening in Richmond.
Can you help me out? Are they rationalizing this with some sort of uptick and horrific, reckless use of firearms in the Commonwealth that I've missed? I haven't seen this huge influx of horrific gun violence that somehow demands action.
Well, coming out of the Youngkin administration, we're actually seeing a significant decrease in violent crime across the Commonwealth. So these ideas, outside of being politically motivated, really have no merit in what they're doing.
Well, and that's the thing is that, okay, I just relocated from D.C. to Virginia, and I was always told, it's where freedom brings. It's where you can do these things. It's where you can be left alone. And, of course, Abigail Spanberger, she conveniently left this out of her campaign last November. So what can we do to say, don't do this? We're not interested in this. Since you're on the action side of things, how can Virginians speak out and say, this is not what we had in mind?
Sure, yeah. And two things Abigail Spanberger is good at right now, selling guns and renting U-Hauls, because folks are heading to West Virginia. They're going to continue further west. But what can people do? Contact your lawmakers. Call, write, visit your office for your delegate, your senator. That's the most important things folks can do. Look, the radical left thinks they had a mandate in a historically low turnout election in November, and we all know the factors there. But what we need to remind them of is there's consequences for these actions. There's consequences for fundamentally trying to change life in the Commonwealth in a 60-day legislative session. So the listeners need to be active and making their voices heard.
Oh, all right, let's follow up on that then. What's the best way for them to be active and to be heard? Where do you suggest they sort of beat down the doors and scream into the phone?
Sure. On our issue, first and foremost, visit NRA-ILA.org. You can see everything that's going on in Virginia that impacts your Second Amendment rights, and there's ability to take action right there. If not, head to Richmond, visit with your lawmakers. That's what they're there for, to hear from you. And also go to the General Assembly's website. There's all the contact information for your lawmakers there. So contact them every way possible, on the phone, through letters, by visiting, and on their social media accounts.
There was a time when Democrats were extremely hesitant to breach this issue and try to do what they're doing right now in Virginia because it was poison politically. They knew it. What's changed?
Well, we're seeing a kind of a revolution in the progressive left. It's a fight to get as far to that left political pole as possible. What we need to remind them of is the political reckoning that will happen when you take someone's constitutional rights. That can happen at the ballot box, and that can also happen in the courts. And our lawyers are working on lawsuits right now to make sure any infringements that make it through get challenged both in federal and state court. And keep in mind, Donald Trump's Department of Justice is more engaged than ever, and they're ready to support civil rights challenges against the Virginia, any unconstitutional laws that pass in Virginia.
Appreciate the action you guys are taking now. Do you guys work, and no big deal if you don't, but do you work on candidate recruitment or, on the ballot as we're in an election year? We know a bunch of state senators are up for election, re-election. What can we do on the front end to get better candidates or to push the turnout so that we don't find ourselves in this position again?
Yeah, we absolutely do. Our NRA Political Victory Fund issues more than 7,000 ratings on candidates nationwide, and we made over 3,000 endorsements in 2024. So people can go to nrapvf.org and see those, and make sure you get involved in the primary process. There's a very, very small segment of voters who get involved in primaries, and quite frankly, we end up with candidate quality issues based off of primary politics. Remember, you have to win in a general election too, and that's the real battle. So listeners can educate themselves on the primary process in their area and make sure they're involved so we have candidates that can win.
Are you pretty much at this point counting the votes and assuming that's going to pass and it's all up to Abigail Spanberger whether she wants to spoil any attempt to run on a national ticket by signing these, vetoing them? Where do you think she stands? She as much as she liked to pretend to be a moderate when she was running, she seemed pretty extreme on her anti-Second Amendment positions. That sort of fits. I don't see any of these that she won't sign.
Her future aspirations are definitely driving the train in Richmond. We will see once we get to crossover deadline exactly what should be moving forward. But we're seeing disagreements start to rise to the top, whether that's on the congressional redistricting map ridiculousness that they're trying to pass and which seat they're structuring for a senator or a delegate. We're seeing disagreements on the Second Amendment issues. We're seeing disagreements on the insane amount of new taxes they want to pass. So the more people contact the Capitol office there, contact Abigail Spanberger, hit her social media pages, create that nervousness about being a speed bump in the way of her future aspirations, that's how we can start to slow things down.
All right, we got to leave it there. Good stuff, though. Appreciate you joining us, and we'll keep an eye on it. John Commerford, he'll keep an eye on it, too. That's his job. NRA-ILA Executive Director. Thanks, John. It is 8:15. Bye-bye. We got some more lunacy in Richmond, but we want to focus on one delegate in particular. Thanks so much, Fairfax County. The Fairfax Democrats, the gift that keeps on destroying what's left of the Commonwealth of Virginia. His name is Dan Helmer. He represents the 10th district. That's in the latest iteration of redistricting. It's basically the entire district is located within the borders of Fairfax County. A lot of these districts used to bridge across the borders of counties, so you had to appeal to some different political aesthetics depending on where your district was. Not this one. It's all Fairfax all the time. And we'll just listen to some of the things that he has introduced. Assault firearms and large capacity magazines regulation. Firearm industry standards of responsible conduct and creating civil liability so people can sue gun manufacturers. He also introduced, this is probably the most atrocious one. If a private school is using public funds for tuitions, like school choice initiatives or whatever kind of incentives that have been hard fought and won for parents to be able to have choice to bring their kids to a private school, he wants to basically ruin the private school by instilling the same public school government top-down legislative standards and regulations on that private, even parochial schools. So if you choose to put your kid in a Christian school and that Christian school is taking any kind of state money, he wants to force that Christian school to do very unchristian things, with the curriculum, with their hiring practices. Basically, it eliminates religious freedom for religious-based schools. And we're just scratching the surface here on one Dan Helmer of Fairfax County. Is he your state delegate?
I think so. I should know better because I should be a better part of getting him out of there. But we're in a horrible predicament here. And it's interesting there because I have talked to several friends who are not particularly religious people but have chosen to send their kids to Christian schools. And I say, I don't mind that they get religious education. Those parents are making that choice. And this is an assault on school choice. That's the first way that I read this as well.
He wants a Christian school to have a non-discrimination policy which includes gender identity and expression. In other words, if you hire a male physical education teacher at a Christian school, and then that guy suddenly starts representing as a woman and identifying as a woman, then the Christian school can't dismiss the person because it is incongruous with their Christian beliefs to have this man dressing as a woman and interacting with little girls in the locker room. No. You got it. So if Richard Cox went and became a gym teacher, basically, the Christian school would be compelled to keep him. Or for that matter, what if you're a Satanist? What if you convert to Satanism? You're a Christian, you get a job at a Christian school, you convert to Satanism, and you start espousing Satanist beliefs. Can't fire that person. That's what Dan Helmer would want. He also wants a mandatory opt-out of private schools for religious instruction. Think about that for a minute. You're a religious school. Part of the curriculum is a religious class. He wants to force that school to allow for a mandatory opt-out for any student who is paying tuition voluntarily to go to a Christian school to then opt out of the Christian or religious instruction. Mm-hmm. Make it make sense.
Is there no safe spaces anymore? He's eliminating. I mean, most of these people who aren't particularly religious sent their kids there to get away from this nonsense in the public school if they're able. I got to believe we need to get our legal experts back in on this, that there is a case to be made all the way to the Supreme Court, because I know it's an apples and oranges comparison, but it has me thinking of the Little Sisters of the Little Flower. The
Little Sisters of the Poor, yeah.
Little Sisters of the Poor, yes, sorry, thank you. Mm-hmm. That, they, of course, took it all the way to the Supreme Court that they shouldn't on the abortion issue in healthcare. So there's something there that to me is a parallel that hopefully people will be taking up, and they're already putting together the court case on this, but hopefully it doesn't even get that far. It's just wild.
Yeah. By the way, Dan Helmer's a West Point grad, and he wants to limit people's ability to defend themselves with firearms. That's amazing. Let me just be clear, and I'll make the prediction now. He's running for either Congress or Senate at some time in his future. He's bolstering the resume right now to be able to check all the boxes for the Democrats. Get this one. They've already passed one of his bills. This is the January 6th bill, where he would compel the curriculum to describe January 6th as, quote, an unprecedented violent attack. And again, I love it when a legislator goes to Richmond as a state delegate and decides that he now wants to write the language in the curriculum of the schools and mandate that curriculum across the board. It's the hubris and arrogance of somebody to say, I know what every child in Virginia should be compelled to learn, and the language used to describe that lesson. The Virginia House of Delegates also passed Dan Helmer's bill to keep to ban what he's calling musk lotteries. Hold on, what's a musk lottery? Those are the when Musk would register people to vote, and then if you register to vote, you win a chance to win money. Oh, remember that? That's what he said. Yes. Yeah, so he's got that. He's got all of the right priorities, doesn't he? That's Dan Helmer. Thank you, Fairfax County. And I hope you know that you're just giving this guy a platform for a stepping stone for his next run for office. That's the other problem is, and I'm not naive. I know that politicians look at these things as, grooming for the next gig. But it does seem a phenomenon for Democrats that from school boards to city council to county supervisor to state, all they're really looking at is to acquire more power. It becomes, this is Chuck Schumer's life. Chuck Schumer has never had a real job. He got out of law school and just went right into politics, and you go one level at a time. And it becomes your career, and it's what's wrong with American politics. And that's what's going on with Dan Helmer.
Dan Helmer, but I agree with you. And also, these got passed. These aren't just introductions.
Yep. You're right.
They passed it. The House of Delegates passed it. So I'm concerned about the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, listen, I am always optimistic, Cassie Smedlie, that we will turn the tide on this career politician kind of culture that we have. And we'll go back to the roots of what America's founding was all about. You build a life, build a career as a ShamWow guy infomercial star. And then, later in your years, you can run for Congress. It's really all about ShamWow. That's right. It is. It is the American dream. It's 8:24.
Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
Good morning. It's 8:37. Coming up in 30 minutes, it'll be time for the Chris Plant Show, which we always look forward to. It's Larry O'Connor with Cassie Smedlie. Good morning, Cassie.
Good morning, Larry. Chris Plant, always a party.
Exactly. I try not to be a homer or a cheerleader. I support this president and I support this administration. I support this cabinet. But yet at the same time, if I disagree with something, if I think somebody could be better, something could be, I feel like I'm a pretty honest broker, and I say so as gently and as positively as I possibly can. So I'm hesitant because I don't want it to sound like I'm, a MAGA cheerleader over here. But I got to tell you, this cabinet, just top to bottom, from your, when was the last time anybody cared to talk about the transportation secretary other than to make fun of people to judge or what have you? But, Duffy is kicking butt. Hegseth is, despite, people, all the right people don't like him. Let me put it that way. Right. He is doing, what was his job? To increase morale, increase recruitment, and get the Pentagon focused more on war fighting instead of DEI climate change nonsense. Mission accomplished. Right. By any measure. Then you got Marco Rubio, who I was skeptical of as Secretary of State. He's been a beast. You just go on and on and on. And so now here's Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent. I didn't know anything about this guy. Mm-hmm. Did you?
No, same.
And he's been amazing at communicating on CNBC or at the World Economic Forum or whoever he has to talk to sort of calm down all of the morons on Wall Street that want to sell everybody's portfolio the second they see Trump tweet something. And he's been incredibly stable. And it's like, no, the tariffs are fine. Don't worry. We got this on it. And he is like this stabilizing presence and just sort of feels like, and that's one thing.
Right.
But then you get him testifying in front of Congress and you got the likes of Maxine Waters trying to humiliate him and yell at him. And the man is an absolute Conan the Barbarian. What he did to Gavin Newsom in Davos was just absolutely devastating. Career ender for Gavin. If he had any shame, it would be a career ender. He has no shame. So we're going to play some audio of Scott Bessent, but just as a prelude here, am I wrong? Am I gushing too much? Am I like on Tinder right now looking at this cabinet, swiping right on everybody?
Swiping right?
Yes. What is going on?
What a reference. No, I do think Scott Bessent has truly been the most surprising because Treasury secretaries, they're accountants. They're very buttoned up. And then you hear that the man
pinstripe suit, super, yeah.
Yes, but he can lay down a verbal, and there's even been rumors of physical punch, let's just say very unexpected.
We are told that he actually punched Elon Musk, right? Mm-hmm. Just actually gave him a knuckle sandwich, as it were. Mm-hmm. And wasn't there somebody else he had a physical altercation with, too?
There was something right outside the Oval Office, allegedly, someone that he said, you want to take this outside.
Allegedly, supposedly. Yes, allegedly, supposedly. All right, so here's Maxine Waters at one point. Let's start with tariffs. Here, cut 11. Let's go.
You and the rest of the Trump administration levied tariffs on housing production goods like lumber and steel, as well as appliances. These tariffs will result in half.
Lumber is
reclaiming my time. You don't get to talk.
Lumber is at a 5-year low, Congresswoman.
Reclaiming my time.
Then let's just have the facts.
Reclaiming my time.
All right, but she had more questions for Secretary Bessent about how did she pronounce levied?
Levied.
Yeah.
You
Here we go.
And the rest of the Trump administration levied.
There it is. All right. So what else did Congresswoman Waters want to axe Secretary Bessent?
Secretary Bessent, will you be the voice of reason in the administration and urge Trump to stop waging a war on American consumers and on housing or affordability and putting the economy at risk? Yes or no? You don't have to explain.
Representative Waters,
will you be the voice? Will you be the voice? Will you be the voice? Will you be the voice of reason?
And
will you be the voice of reason?
A study
yes
from
no?
Wharton University
Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time. Reclaiming my time.
Was the mass unfettered immigration.
Mr. Chair, will you let him know that when I ask him
time does belong to the housing stock.
10 and 20 million immigrants
can you
took
shut
up the housing stock of working Americans, and can you maintain some level of dignity?
Gentleman's time has expired.
Can you maintain some level of dignity? What's undignified about that? Reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time.
It's a new jingle.
It's got to be a mashup. ShamWow Guy would make a big hit out of that, actually. That's why we need him in Congress. I love that. It's a yes or no question. Will you be the voice of reason against this monster of a president? Well, I don't think that's a yes or no question, actually. There's
right.
And did she say, I love that, this is the party of the grown-ups. What did she say about the Secretary of Treasury, 12A?
10 and 20 million immigrants.
Can you shut up?
Can you shut up? Can you shut up?
And can you maintain
some level of dignity? By the way, the answer is no. All right, then we get on to Representative Lynch here, who was just yelling a lot. A whole lot of yelling going on. And Bessent, he's just the coolest cucumber. Take a listen.
Question and a serious issue for the financial services industry, especially as the Secretary of the Treasury. Well, that's an important. No, this is my time. I haven't asked any more questions. I haven't asked you any more questions.
It's the gentleman from Massachusetts.
I'm trying to get to my next question.
Could you speak a little louder? I can't hear you.
Yeah, okay. I might.
Mr. Secretary.
Honestly, that's just prime. That's perfect. All right, we're on board. We're on board with this cabinet. Everybody, not everybody's perfect, but top to bottom, you got to be impressed with this cabinet, just as a man for man.
Keep going to the Hill. It's like must-see TV when
Absolutely.
one of them is on the Hill.
100%. It's 8:44. 8:50 now. Cassie, Smedlie, what a fine morning it's been. Thanks for holding my hand through this very tough news cycle, considering I was so distracted by ShamWow Guy running for Congress.
You were a little, I'm just going to tell you, Larry, you overemphasized it today. I think you're putting your thumb on the scale for him.
You think? I'm actually getting all dressed up, putting a suit and tie on so I can go interview for a position on his campaign. I'm ready. I'm ready to work on his staff. He's ShamWow Guy, damn it. All right. President Trump announced yesterday that he's going to install a statue of Christopher Columbus right next to the White House. I mean, he really does like to tweak people, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. I love it.
This is great. It's going to be on the White House grounds, according to a report published yesterday. It will be on the south side of the White House campus, just north of the ellipse. The statue is reportedly a reconstruction of one unveiled in Baltimore by President Ronald Reagan in the 1980s and then dumped into the city's harbor by protesters in 2020 as part of the protests after the death of George Floyd. Because the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis was directly related to Christopher Columbus and the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria.
Naturally.
So
it's all connected. Yeah.
It's great. It's great. And again, it's like, it's such a fundamental thing that most Americans are like, yes, of course, let's have a Columbus Day. Mm-hmm. And it points out how radical the left has become in this country, that this will drive them nuts. You can't do that. It's like, what are you talking about? It's Christopher Columbus. Why the hell can't we do that? So he's very good at that. There's a parade. He's got a knack. He's got a knack at it. There's also going to be a whole thing that he's proposing called the National Garden of American Heroes. It's supported by President Trump, and it's meant to honor significant figures in U.S. history. The project first outlined in an executive order in 2021. He revived it again in 25, and it aims to feature up to about 250 different historical figures. Of course, this would be in connection with the America's 250th Founders and statesmen like George Washington, Henry Clay, Thomas Jefferson, Samuel Adams, all the slaveholders. Civil rights and social leaders, Susan B. Anthony, who, was against abortion. Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks, Frederick Douglass, Republican. Harriet Tubman, Republican. Booker T. Washington, I think he was a Republican. Scientists and inventors like Ansel Adams, Alexander Graham Bell, Thomas Edison, Neil Armstrong, Naval Academy. And it goes on. And it's going to be a whole statuary garden that you can walk through right outside the White House.
I love it. Tell me why Democrats are going to protest this garden, because it seems like a really exhaustive list. They're going to have Kobe Bryant in there, Muhammad Ali, military explorers. This isn't, just Trump's favorites, although maybe they are.
Johnny Cash, Ray Charles, Lauren Bacall, and Julia Child.
Oh, stop. That's amazing.
Why will they oppose it?
Yeah.
Because Trump.
Oh.
Because Trump.
That.
It's 8:53.